Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Okay, firstly I would like to say thanks to Allah who has given us blessings so that we can get on together in this our lovely class. And also don't forget salawat and salam we deliver to our Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam by saying Allahumma salli ala Sayyidina Muhammad wa ala ali Sayyidina Muhammad. Okay, secondly I would like to introduce myself. My name is EKA MARDIANA. Today I'm going to tell you about my title. My material, the title is Revisiting the 2006 School Level Curriculum and the Gender-Based Approach in the Context of EFL Curriculum Development in Indonesia. Okay, this next slide please. Okay, the first is about introductions. As we know, the curriculum in Indonesia has changed many times, right? And many approach and method that are introduced to facilitate the English language learning. And the history of EFL in Indonesia is the 1945 is grammar translations method, and the second 1968 and 1975 is oral approach curriculum and behaviorism, and the third 1984 is communicative approach curriculum, and the fourth 1994 is meaning-based curriculum, and the fifth 2004 is competency-based curriculum, and the sixth 2006 is translated as school level curriculum. Okay, and the first is the 1945. It was grammar translations method. It was introduced by the Dutch. The method is to teach the senior high school students. So the goal was to equip the learners with the knowledge about grammatical rules and also the vocabulary. And then the 1968 and 1975 curriculum, it refers as the oral approach curriculum on the theories of the audiolingual method and behaviorism. The goal was at the developing at the 4 language scale, where listening still taken as the priority and followed by the reading, writing and speaking. And the third 1984 was communicative approach curriculum. In the following years, English language teaching more focused on the language use rather than the usage. So the change of the communicative approach didn't seem any impact on the way English taught in that school. So the teaching syllabi, for example, was grammar based, and the textbook were designed around the grammatical units, then the incorporating the 4 language skill. And then the fourth 1994 curriculum. It refers to the meaning-based curriculum, and it also recommended the same approach to serve as the framework for the teaching learning process in the classroom. And then the 2004, the government introduced the competency-based curriculum, and then the Ministry of Education also introduced the gender-based approach to teaching English in high school levels. And then the sixth is the 2006 curriculum was introduced as the KTSP in Indonesia, and in English translated as school level curriculum. And then the next point, the next slide, the school level curriculum can be understood as the education system in Indonesia. So the curriculum concerned on primarily control and empowerment. Control strategies means that the mechanism for increasing the efficiency of the educational system, and the empowerment strategies means that the teacher competence and the teacher commitment. And then the point C is there have been concern encircling its implementations. The first is the Ministry of Education seems to demonstrate ambiguity in its commitment to competence. And the second, they also insist that the national examinations be applied to all junior and high school levels. And then the third shortcoming in the implementations of the school level curriculum is that school might be not able to identify clearly their needs, wants, and capabilities. And then the next slide. The gender-based approach in the context of the 2004 and 2006 curriculum are based on the government regulations stipulating, meaning that in every curriculum is stated in the term of competency, that is the learning process carried out by the developing reading and writing culture. So it is also suggest that the language education, including English education, is expected to develop communicative competence or the ability of communicative in spoken or written language, so that the learners will be possessed in the social skill. And then the next slide, review of the research study. So there are two studies. The first is about using a gender-based approach to teaching writing to Thai students. A case study written by Swawode Kompech of Ubon Ratchathani University, Thailand, and Critical Friends Group for EFL Teacher Professional Development by Long Tan Pho and Ho Mi Thi Mai Nguyen. The first studies were conducted in Thailand and Vietnam, where the English is taught as a foreign language. And both of Thailand and Vietnam are within the expanding circle of English language use, and therefore can be assumed to have relatively the same level of exposure to English. And then the second study analyzed the use of the critical friends group technique as the model for teacher professional development. So the CFG method is which critical friends from the same educational institutions work to help each other. So it involves mutual observations and criticism. Having discussed both studies, it can be concluded that both studies are very close related. And then the next conclusions. In the conclusion, curriculum needs to take into account different contexts which might come into play to impinge on the efficacy of any given curriculum. So in the context of national curriculum and EFL curriculum in Indonesia, the government needs to reconsider the national examinations as a sole school living examinations because it proved to have such adverse effect on the learning process, including the EFL classroom practice. So that's all my presentations today. I'm sorry for my mistake. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Mana Ube? Ube yang mana dia?